I'm back. The the topic that we're going to talk about is an interesting one, and it's a little bit of a preparation for Chanukah. Although the topic as well is, goes beyond Chanukah, and it's actually a very central question in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, regarding miracles. Should we pray for miracles? Does Hashem want to do miracles? On Chanukah we say in the Bahalanissim, that he did miracles in those days, and he should do miracles in Bizman Hazeh, Bayomim Aheim Bizman Hazeh. Also Nisim Lavisenu, Bayomim Aheim Bizman Hazeh means that he did it in times past, and we want that he should do it again. Seemingly we have numerous sources which would imply not like that. And we'll go through the sources step by step. Probably start this week and we'll continue over the next couple weeks. So one source that pops up is a Mishnah Masechtas Brachos. A Mishnah Masechtas Brachos in the beginning of the 9th Perek, in Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph. So in the middle of the Mishnah is talking about interesting brachas that you make when you're in wild places or places where a miracle took place, etc., etc. Thunder, lightning, hurricanes. There's actually a bracha you make by hurricanes, and so on. And what bracha do you make if someone passes away, and good news and bad news? And then the Mishnah says that here's something that you shouldn't make a bracha for. Before we were talking about everything that you should make a bracha for. Now I'm going to tell you what you shouldn't make a bracha for. Hatzoyak l'sha'avar, one that cries. That word tzoyak might be important. Person that cries out about the past. He's crying over spilled milk. That's no good. And the Mishnah brings two examples. One is a ishtei milberes. So your wife is pregnant already. It's in, doesn't say exactly which month it is, but she's already pregnant. And you say hiratzin that she should give birth to a male. So the Mishnah says no. if it's already in the keva, you can't turn it into a male. You can't change the past. Don't change the past. Well, it doesn't actually say don't. It just says this is a tfilas shav. This is like a void. It's a useless prayer. It doesn't say don't do it. It just says it's a useless prayer. So that would, if you made a bracha of some sort, then that would be a bracha levatola. But if you just prayed, so you're talking to the walls, because you can't change the past. That's the way Hashem created the world. That's what the Mishnah says. And then it brings a second example of a person that's going into a town, and there's a whole chaos happening in the town, and you didn't yet reach your house. And you go ahead and say that my house shouldn't be affected by this chaos. The noise that's taking place in the city, I shouldn't hear it in my house. So again, the Mishnah says there's noise already in the city. What do you just because you're not yet in your house, you can't just because you're not in your house, so you didn't yet experience the pain, but it happened already. It's still considered the past, because ultimately the noise is already, the chaos and the problems are already in town. So that's the Mishnah. Now, interestingly, the Rambam in Hilchos Brachos, Perek Yud, Halacha Chaf Beis, he doesn't get into the details over here. And he doesn't bring the examples, although often the Rambam, and even in the same halacha, in the previous in the beginning of the paragraph, he's talking about a case, and the Rambam, usually the cases he brings are the cases which the Gemara brought up. In other words, even if a halacha would apply in hundreds of different cases, the examples that Rambam uses to illustrate the halachas are usually the examples that the Gemara, or the Mishnayos, or the Braisos used. And like we see in the beginning of the halacha, in the beginning of the paragraph, he did that. But when it comes to this specific law that you can't cry over the past, the Rambam just has a blanket statement. He says, anyone that cries about the past, that's considered a tefillah shav. That's considered a bracha, a prayer which is not worth anything. The wording of the Gemara is Hatsoyak l'shav, or one that cries about the past. The Rambam says anyone that cries about the past is a tefillah shav. Why does the Rambam say anyone? Because he doesn't bring any examples, so he just says everyone. The Gemara brings 2 examples, so it doesn't say kol, because it's bringing examples. In a minute, maybe we'll suggest why the Rambam didn't bring these 2 examples. It's actually based on reading the Gemara. There can be a possible explanation as to why the Rambam doesn't get into examples, because the examples are actually challenged in the Gemara. Let's start with the first one. The Gemara tells us a little history, some unknown some details that if you read the Chumash, you can, if you don't read it carefully enough, you could miss out on this detail that the Gemara points out. The Gemara says, if you carefully read the Chumash, when Leah was after she had already 6 of the Shvatim, Yaakov's wife, Leah, had 6 sons already, so she was praying for more. And she realized that the child that she's pregnant with, her 7th child, was a zachar, was a male. And she knew that there's only going to be 12 boys, 12 shvatim. And she said, I already had 6. My sister Rachel had none. And the maidservants each had 2. So if I take, and she knows there's going to be 12, so she had 6, maidservants had 4, 2 each, so there's 2 left. If I'm going to give birth to a male, then my sister is going to not even have the same amount of shvatim that the maidservants gave birth. Therefore, she prayed to Hashem to turn her male into a female, and she had a girl. So the Gemara says, so we see it happened. Then the Gemara kind of leaves it at that. And then, regarding the other example, the Gemara also challenges it. And the Gemara says, you can't go into a city and start crying out. We have a story that Hillel did just that. Ma'aseh b'Hillel Azakin, and he heard something happen, and he said it shouldn't affect my house. So what's happening over here? So the Gemara says that the Gemara then starts talking about bitachon, and it quotes a pasuk from Tehillim, Kapitel Kuf Yud Beis, that mishmua ra lo yira. Don't be scared of a bad shmua. Muftachani. So the Gemara is telling us that we should have bitachon and pray to Hashem to even change the past. That's what's happening over here. So B'Kitzer, and we'll elaborate on this a little more next week. It appears as though tzaddikim, Leah, and Hillel have true bitachon that Hashem is going to change the future. And they really believe that Hashem is going to change the future. Then they can change the future. Tzoyak l'sha'afar is a person that doesn't really believe it. If you're flimsy in your emunah, and therefore you're screaming, you don't believe it's really going to happen, it might not happen.